Hello and welcome. This is Masters of the Journey. I'm your facilitator, John Mason. I'm also the founder of Masters of the Journey. Today we have a very special guest, Don Ley. Today Don is going to be joining us, and as you can see, the topic is going to be interesting. Demystifying spirituality. Doesn't even fit on the screen. It's such a big topic. And we're going to be here to find out his views and see what it can do to expand our consciousness. Now, as you can see, I'm in Lake Tinaca up near Yosemite Valley, high in the Sierras, and that has nothing to do with our topic, but Don Ley is here. And he and I were having a conversation about how real is energy. And it led to many topics, and we're going to cover that probably in another video at some point. But we got around to discussing something that he suggested was real important as a topic for one of our videos. Demystifying spirituality. Probably couching it in terms that some people might not have thought of or have considered. And we're going with that today because that's the title of our presentation. So I want to invite Don to probably unmute himself if he hasn't done so. And welcome to this conference call that we are recording. Hi, Don. How are you?
I'm good, John. Thank you. And you?
I'm doing great. You know, Lake Tinaca is at a high enough elevation. It's a little bit cooler up here than it is in some of the hotter parts of the western United States. And do you remember the conversation we were having and why it led to the conversation about demystifying spirituality?
Oh, boy. Well, we had been, as you mentioned, we had been talking about how real is energy and how real do you want to make it, blah, 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 all that stuff. And a piece of that, for me, has to do with allowing ourselves to feel energy. I mean, it's, I think, a kind of a critical part to open up that feeling part of ourselves and let ourselves sense what's happening around us on a very different level. And part of that has to do with, it leads into the whole issue of demystifying spirituality, because most people, what we're inundated with as we're growing up and developing is that spiritual things are sort of out there somewhere, and that God is out there somewhere. And in order to really allow ourselves to experience the reality of that we are energetic beings, so to speak, occupying a body, it gets down to the thing of you have a soul. Well, maybe it's you are a soul and you have a body. You just happen to be operating through a body right now. And so in order to experience myself fully on that level, I need to allow myself, I think, to begin to feel myself in the body. And this goes past all the intellectual concepts and things that we're presented with in life. And with the near-death experience that I had, I was aware that I was experiencing that part of myself in a very different way, because my body just wasn't there. I had sort of cut off myself from my body, whatever, and could feel myself. And when I made the decision to come back in, and the decision was based almost solely, is what I touched in with out there, I'm not through yet. I haven't done what I really wanted to do in this lifetime. I haven't completed what I wanted to do. And I had a lot of enthusiasm around coming back, although it was very tempting to stay there because it was such a delightful energy. But when I came back into my body, I was aware of feeling it. When I came to out of that unconscious state, my body started coming out of it, and I was aware of feeling myself as I came into the body. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was my experience of that. And so there's this, those of us who have been taught to cut off our feelings, yeah, there's a lot of things we can do to sort of clean up that you know, things get triggered when we really feel things. But the bottom line is, can we really allow ourselves to experience ourselves in the body on a level that's outside of our analytical mind, outside of perhaps all the concepts we've been raised with?
So something came up for me. So
Okay.
spirituality is not a thought. We're talking intellectually and we're putting a bunch of words on that, but spirituality is within our heart and soul. It's a feeling, and when you have said we're much greater than we allow ourselves to think we are, it's because our soul is so much larger and encompassing than just intellect, ego, thought. Am I following that?
Yes, yes, I think so, John. And I'm also aware that the screen is not flipping back and forth between the two of us. I don't know if it's supposed to, but no. Okay. Yeah, and got sidetracked there a little bit.
Okay.
It's
with the two of us on, the screen isn't going to flip back.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
we're talking about, you know, the spirit as a feeling, and not just the words or the thoughts or the intellect.
Yeah, and you know, when you really get into that, then you get challenged on all of the belief systems that you've got. I mean, we create this, there's this image, and I've seen this so much over the years and seen it displayed in a lot of different ways. If you're really a spiritual individual, then you're walking around probably floating about a foot off the floor. And if I look closely, I can probably see your halo, and if you're good enough, all those things. And what I'd like to highlight here in addressing this is you are already, I mean, everything you experience every day is you as a spiritual entity experiencing life in a body. You are that already. There's really nothing you have to do to develop your spirituality other than essentially tuning into yourself, allowing yourself to experience you outside of all of your intellectual concepts about who you are. And that comes about in different ways for different people. And taking it to the extent that I did with that near-death experience, it's not something I particularly recommend to people. I think it's a little dramatic, but that's what I did. That was my experience. But it really highlighted for me all of the places that we get essentially separated from ourselves. Oh, there's my higher self or my higher consciousness. While all those sort of labels are appropriate probably in many ways, but I get stuck in that place that higher is something that's out there. No, it's here. And am I really going to just simply allow myself to begin to not think about that, but experience it?
So you're giving every person who views this a ray of hope. It's not it's not just people who have superhuman experiences like near death, or they are walking along and they talk to the burning bush. You're saying that indeed we have it within us. It is already built in. It's a part of us. We just need to remember it or have that consciousness awaken or reawaken, and we can start to feel how connected we are with the divine spirit, and how big we are, bigger than this universe, with our soul and our spirit, even though there's limitations of the three dimensions of our body. Is that my following that?
Yeah, I think so. And I even want to say, connecting with divine spirit, the words you used. I am that. How far do I want to take this? I am that. And it's not on that intellect. It's like allowing yourself to experience that. And that's quite, in some ways, it's all a vibrational game. And it's really difficult to tune into this stuff if you're at a real low vibration. I mean, everything has a vibration to it. So if you're in a space of feeling worthless, as an example, that's not a very high vibrational rate. And now I want to tune into myself on a bigger level outside of that invalidation and that worthlessness. I need to allow my energy to come up to a different level. And so, as an example, when I came back into my body during that experience, I laid there for quite a while just giggling, because that was the energy that I was tapping into or being with, in this other space. And I even I'm hesitant to say out there, because that was all happening in here, even though I wasn't consciously aware on a body level of what was happening. But as I came back in, then I became very consciously aware. Oh, wow, I love this vibration. And it was the thing of total acceptance, no judgment, total love, I guess, if you want to say that. Just an absolutely delightful, freeing sort of space. And then allowing yourself to begin to realize that's you. Okay. Getting out of the thing about what a piece of garbage you are because you were flawed from the very beginning, and all that sort of thing. No, wait a minute. Maybe this is me at the beginning, and I've allowed myself to buy into the whole flawed thing. Yeah.
Culturally and intellectually, we beat ourselves up. We know our imperfections, our weaknesses, our flaws, and it's very hard for us to accept that is perfect. And the weaknesses and the flaws are the lessons that we have to learn from in this life. And we're trying to get back to that. I was hearing you say, when you were giggling, that feeling of joy, that feeling of unconditional love, and of being a part of something that's so much bigger, without the judgment, without the black and white, the good or bad, the yes or no, whatever it is. We are just who we are, struggling in our bodies, and the beauty of that is that's what we're here to do. We have to remember that to be able to remember our divinity.
Yes, yeah. And the amusing part of it to me is when you use the word struggle, we make it a struggle. It's not automatically a struggle. What we're essentially, I guess you get to say, what we're doing here are the lessons in our life is how to manage the energy, and it's being able to make choices. It's all a moment to moment choice of, will we allow ourselves to be aware of ourselves on that level or not? Well, it takes a fairly high vibration to be able to tune into that in its wholeness and make it real. And all the stuff that you need to take things seriously. There was a lot of playful energy there. It was just simply, it's like a small child running around and their energy is going right through the ceiling, and they're bouncing off the walls, just having a wonderful time playing. And maybe that's what it meant, the quotes from Jesus about be as a little child. It's like seeing life through fresh eyes. We've got an energy center, a vibration, a frequency that's when we come into the body, and our bodies are very sensitive. They pick up a lot of things that we may not be consciously aware of, particularly energetically. And so, you need to take things seriously. You need to try very hard. And life is a struggle. And the best you can hope for is blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, those are all beliefs that are circulating around that somehow I've bought into. And it's not somebody else's fault. I need to not blame anybody else. This is a part of my reality that I've accepted. And so it's like, if I can simply let myself be aware on that level. The really interesting part of it for me is when you touch yourself more deeply on that level and start to have that more real for yourself, then you're seeing yourself differently. And automatically, it's there. You don't have to do anything about it. Automatically, you're seeing other people in that same light. And so it can all the things you're in judgment about, you've been taught all that somehow. And so being in that non-judgmental state really lets you know that this is, I want to say, it's your natural state. And your natural state, these are just my words for my experience, but what it said to me is your natural state is being really consciously aware of the wholeness of you and of everybody else. And we're all playing through this reality. And I guess, how far do you want to take this? We're all participating in shifting the energy, to where that's more available to people in general, if they choose to go to it. And, I've got all these experiences in my life that I can blame everybody else for. But it's like, I just wandered through different levels of energy, and some of that stuck and held me down. And what I'm doing now is reawakening to who I really am. Makes all the difference in the world. Yeah.
So I love the way you're phrasing this, and I just want to back it up a little bit because it requires repetition to get into my thick skull. Enlightenment also has something to do with being light and feeling joy. And consciousness is there for the taking. It's deep within us. we struggle because we add to the struggle of not allowing everybody to have the perfection that that we all have deep within us. So we bump up against these other characters and they push our buttons or whatever, and we don't really find the love and the joy in the fact that they are there to annoy us because it's part of the game. It's just and should get an Academy Award for being so good at annoying us. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. I like that. And I guess the other thing is realizing that somehow I've created all of this for myself. And, I've got somebody out there that's really annoying for you. Again, how far do you want to take this? How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? And they're, in effect, what they're doing is they're mirroring back to us something that exists inside of us that we're in, shall we say, in denial of. I'm supposed to be a nice person, as an example. I've dealt with that one in a lot of people, where they're sort of stuck on that place of I need to be nice. And what I want to keep seeing in people is that they're being real. It's that simple, because if I'm stuck in that nice place, I'll never let myself feel my irritation, my agitation, that's part of the body experience. And it doesn't mean I need to get stuck in anything and spend the rest of my life in anger because my father or my mother did something to me when I was a child. It's like, no, I always have a choice. And being consciously aware of who I am is always a choice. And so it's just getting out of all those places that we've been taught that we need to be in, that we need to avoid, or what it means to be spirit in a body. Spirit in a body and spirituality, to me, is about me being real. Can I be real with who I am? And I've got every capability that you can possibly imagine. I have that available to me, and it's a matter of choice. Do I want to run around, creating chaos in everybody's life, in society, and blah, blah, blah? Or do I want to be here in a more peaceful manner? And, whatever it happens to be, it's like the choice is yours. And if I'm going to be really real with this, then I need to be really real with what I've taken on in my body, or conceptual, concepts that I've taken in and claimed as my own, because that's creating my reality. And can I just be real with all that? Because I can release all of that blame stuff. I can release all the trauma. I can release all that, but not by thinking about it. It's by touching a vibration that's much higher, and allow that to come into play. And that just happens to be me. I mean, individually, that's who we are. We have that ability, and can we allow ourselves to just express that here, now? And that ties into so much. It ties into healing, healing our body, healing our mind, healing, whatever. healing ourselves spiritually, so to speak. It's like pulling all of who we are together into one place, which just happens to be this body. And, you know, then you can start getting into, well, I'm probably existing on other realities as well. Yeah, maybe so, but what you're concerned about right here, right now, is this reality. How are you going to deal with it? And you've got everything you need to do that. And so the issue is just, how do I get there? And it's one of those how-to questions, but it's it doesn't really take that much effort. What it takes is being willing to move beyond the fear of what I may be afraid of that I'll become. I mean, in my background, you were really inundated that if you really let yourself be free of all the constrictions that have been set up societally, you'd probably run amok. You know, you'd be going out and murdering people and all sorts of things. That's not from my experience, that's not our real nature. You know, that's not our natural state. Our natural state is more to love and play, and, you know, trusting ourselves is a big piece that comes in there too. We've been really inundated with a lot of information that tells you you can't trust these things. Those impulses that you get, those on sort of intuitive level, that's coming from a different place. And how do I learn how to trust that?
So our culture, and I'm talking about growing up in the United States, has been, you have to work hard and then you acquire a bunch of material possessions and then you're successful. What you're saying is it's actually kind of simple and easy. Doesn't sound easy, but it is easy if you follow your passion and you decide to make the priority something that feels like a priority, not what you're told is a priority. In other words, you don't have to have a lot of money or possessions to be happy. And I think a lot of people get confused about that.
Yeah, it's that state of being. I mean, the state of being in that sort of blissful space, if you will. I don't know how else to say it. It's a state of being. And I experience that. It doesn't matter what my financial situation is. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing out there. It doesn't matter what other people think of me. None of that counts. And I've seen so much recently. It's come up, and I've heard a number of people address this. I mean, again, it's how we're brought up. Okay, you got to be successful. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's measured in dollars. Oh, okay. And if you're creating a lot of wealth, then that sets you aside. That makes you better than. That's the goal. And yet, how many people some of these motivational speakers and these kind of guys, and they'll talk about that, you know, it's like they're talking to very wealthy people who aren't happy. You know, they're talking to people who have a lot of money that they think that's going to do it for them somehow. And it typically doesn't. And it's like, I like the words that you used around following your passion. What is your true internal passion? You know, what do you really love and love to do? And what's that feel like? And when I tune into that, what does that feel like? And then it's sort of going, flipping around a little bit and saying, well, if I'm not feeling that, why am I feeling this other stuff? What's it going to take to get me back to that place of enthusiasm and passion? And can I follow that? Do I trust that? Oh, I just want to play guitar. Oh, well, play your guitar. It's like, at least give yourself room to play with that, and allow the rest of it to come out of your passion. I don't know a better way to put that. It's again, it feels a little incomplete every time I try to talk about any of this. It's such a big picture.
Yeah, I grew up and I lived around people who did have a lot of money and possessions and wealth, and they did a lot of alcohol and drugs and had a lot of anxiety and depression, and they kept circling the wagons. So I know that some people with possessions are happy and find joy. There's no doubt about it. But there's a lot of people who get caught in the game. They're backing the wrong horse, if you will. And I'm not trying to talk people out of working and getting careers and acquiring stuff. I just hope that they follow their passion and they can find a way of sharing the wisdom or the experiences that they have along the way, and that they can learn to give and receive love unconditionally. And if you can do that, and every now and then get out in nature and smile when you see a beautiful flower, or listen to the sounds of the waves, or listen to a child laughing, and have that love and that wonderment for something that's just a miracle that they could never create with all the money that they've ever had or ever would have. It just is there for us to appreciate.
Yeah, and I always find myself wanting to be careful because it's easy for people to hear that you're discounting people just because they have a lot of money. That's not the point here at all. And again, it's part of that, the concepts that we've been fed or adapt around. If you're spiritual, then you really don't care about money, or you don't care about material possessions, or, look at me, I just don't care, kind of a thing. Yeah, because I'm so spiritual. That's not the point. That's not what spiritual is about. And I'm loving what I'm watching right now, because there's so much sort of emerging in all different disciplines, in all different whatever, that's pointing to the same thing. I've watched some training films and stuff around, how to make $100 billion in 20 minutes or something, whatever it is, and but they are constantly bringing out things like, maybe they use different words, but it's like, what really turns you on? What's your bliss?
Absolutely. And today we're talking with Don Ley, who is one of my mentors, and he's a man with an amazing history and experience, including a near-death experience that happened about 5-6 years ago. And that's available for you on another video if you want to go search it out and hear that story, which is pretty spectacular. But today we are demystifying spirituality. And if we could say it simply, put it in a nutshell, I think we need to just look within and accept our own divinity within us. Let's kind of wrap this up. Demystifying spirituality. What's the last word for today about that, Don?
The last word. I like that. I don't have any last words. What I say, it's whatever you're trying to strive, whatever you're trying to accomplish and striving for on that level is already here, and just get out of the way of it.
So if we can get out of our mind, our thoughts, our expectations, judgment, it's somewhere within our heart, and it's much bigger and more powerful than all the excuses we've ever made.
Yeah, nicely put. I like that. Yeah.
This is brilliant. I know we have more to say, and we will come back and do more interviews and put the pieces together. If nothing else, we hope that the listener here has got some different perspective. It's a resource where we're not asking you to follow dogma or join religions or join the club. Just see if any of this rings true for you, and see if you can come to the same conclusions by searching your heart, your soul, and your spirit. And if there's truth and you can find joy, you are on that path to the enlightenment that I know that many of us are seeking. So thank you again, Don.
Thank you, John. Yeah.
And we're going to have a sign-off. We're going to give you some contact information for Don, which is, if you want to email him, it's at donleytoday@gmail.com. And I'm just going to put that up on the screen if you want to write it down. But thank you, Don, and thank you for all the time that our listeners have put into listening and following and tracking. We hope that this has been some information that offers you something as far as perspective on what you'd like to consider or what you'd like to talk about or know. So thank you all, and we'll see you pretty soon, okay?
Okay, bye, John.
Okay, bye-bye. So as promised, this is the contact information for Don Ley. Again, it's donleytoday@gmail.com. His website is we're building that, and it's www.donleytoday.com, I believe. And we'll get back to you and give you some more information. So thank you once again, and we will be seeing you soon. If you want more information about Masters of the Journey and being part of our community and finding a way to share your story, so that you can have the benefits of telling the experiences that you've had or listening, gaining perspective from other people, our contact information is Masters of the Journey at Facebook or mastersofthejourney.com. Again, thank you for your time and your attention. Please take good care of yourself. See you around, and search our YouTube channel for all of the other interviews and information and resources that we can provide. Masters of the Journey on YouTube. Thank you.